Hi, I'm Gary Berger of Berger Law, and I'd like to welcome you to an Ask a Lawyer program that I'm putting on for a little while today to sit and visit with folks about legal questions that they might encounter. So now we're in this strange time that with the pandemic, with the quarantining, with the social distancing requirements. And I've had a couple folks ask me about how does and until some folks start typing in questions or asking me questions, some other folks were already submitting some to me. The main one I got from a couple folks was right away was, how does the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic affect my personal injury case, or might affect my personal injury case? And so let me answer that one. So the one way it affects it is it affects your ability to get out and get medical care. Many providers are not providing the type of care needed for the personal injury or soft tissue injuries that you probably have encountered in a car wreck or slip and fall, medical malpractice, that kind of stuff. So one thing you want to do is make sure you have a provider who does provide you care for those types of injuries. You want to have a doctor that provides that care or does it long distance. So if you're getting physical therapy now or injections or that type of stuff, you may want to take a break. And it's okay to take a break for that for a short period of time while we have these social distancing mandates, or if your work is closed and that kind of stuff. So, but if you need to get care and you can't do it, we at Berger Law, we certainly have providers that are continuing to use appropriate PPE, personal protective equipment that are able to provide that kind of care. So we have folks that could go see you, but it's also, I don't think that would negatively affect your case, your claim, if you said, hey, I'm taking a time out from my care for 3 or 4 weeks while this craziness is going on, so that when I do revamp or re-up my care, I can do it in a safe and wholesome and medically appropriate environment. Our medical providers, our doctors and nurses right now are just flat out heroes with the type of practice they're doing and the type of medical care they're providing to people affected by COVID-19. So that's fantastic. So number one, get your medical care. Number two is, how is that going to affect the inability to maybe try a lawsuit because a lot of courts are closed? Well, the answer to that is, it's not really preventing a lot of the work that we're doing in our firm and a lot of other good lawyers are doing. We're still able to Zoom conference and telephone conference with our clients. We're still able to file claims. We're still able to get medical records. We're still able to conduct video depositions. I have a oral argument in front of the Missouri Supreme Court by video on April 22nd next week. So business is happening. The claim business is happening, and we're helping clients progress their claims, even though we have this very, very unusual pandemic situation. So we're able to sign clients up with DocuSign. We've been settling on a lot of cases. We're able to sign releases with DocuSign. We're able to do all the kind of normal, even in this abnormal time, we're able to do this. We're fortunate that we're a little bit ahead of the curve. Our firm was ready for this because we're operating a lot electronically and virtually anyway. So we have case management programs where we're able to see medical records, work on files, communicate with clients. I've signed releases by DocuSign. I said I have a Zoom mediation set up next week on the 20th. I have as I said, an oral argument from the Missouri Supreme Court as well. So we're trying to do business as usual as much as we can, but we're still, as a firm, we're abiding by the social distancing mandates and all the safety precautions. So that's one of the ways. I see a question coming up on my feed, and one of the questions is, so we're doing this cool thing where we are giving away an Instacart gift certificate every week to help folks in need buy food and have it delivered to them, folks who are unable to get out or folks with those challenges. So we are doing that. So we're doing that every week. We've done a couple of them, and I wanted to congratulate and thank Michelle Bray. Michelle was the winner of last week's Instacart giveaway, and we're excited to give her that and to help her with a $150 Instacart gift certificate. So I see another question coming up here about the COVID-19. It says on my feed here, it says, with the pandemic, how are insurance companies going to react or settle and resolve cases? And that's a good question. So I'm sure some insurance companies are going to take advantage of the lack of access to courts to try to delay things, not pay, do that kind of stuff. But those are the same insurance companies that were doing that anyway. That's not like a surprise, and I don't think it would significantly or negatively affect someone's case. Those types of insurance companies with that type of bad character, they're already going to be a pain. They were already going to not easily pay. So having them react that way is not a surprise, let me say. So for those folks we're filing a lot of lawsuits. We must have filed 15 or 20 lawsuits in the last 2 weeks. We're filing lawsuits, we're getting service. I was on the phone with some other lawyers in my office just a while ago about a medical malpractice case we filed in Illinois. We're filing car wreck cases, slip and fall cases, complex cases. We're doing all kinds of stuff. We're about to file some other nationwide cases too that we're involved with. So we're happy to do that, excited to do that. I see my wife, Kristen Berger, has given me 2 great questions to ask. So the answer, let me just finish that one. The answer is insurance companies may delay, they may do that stuff, but you know what? It's not going to be anything new. And we're still going to fight these insurance companies and file suits and take everything we got. Fortunately, we file everything electronically. All courts are e-filing now, so we file electronically. We're able to get electronic medical records. There's a lot of stuff we do that. So here's a question for you. Can you take legal action against the government for failure to prepare adequately for a pandemic resulting in the loss of life or injury? And the answer is no. So the government has immunity called sovereign immunity, and it comes from it's old English law saying that the king, where we get our legal system from, the king does not have to deign himself to be sued unless he wants to. So the government only gives you permission to sue when they're going to let you be sued. The federal government has a system called the Federal Tort Claims Act, which under certain circumstances we're able to. Hey buddy, how you doing? Come here. Come here. So this is my son William, and William is now going to be in with me and Audrey, going to be in with my first Ask a Lawyer podcast. So as you can tell, we're working from home today, and hi. Can you say hello? Will you say hello? Hello. And so, and do you have a question for the lawyer? Do you have a question for the lawyer, Audrey?
No.
Okay. All right. So sovereign immunity. They'll only let you sue them if they give you permission to, and they're not going to in this type of a situation. There are situations where you can make a claim. Odds, grab that door, would you please? Thank you, and I'll just keep William here. There are situations where they do. For instance, if Audrey left. Do you want to hang out with Dada? Or do you want to go get Audrey?
Audrey.
All right, we're going to go get Audrey. For instance, if the federal government is providing medical care and they're not going to they're going to do that. Odds, would you go that? Would you want to go with Odds? Go find Odds?
Come on.
Can I stay in here for a minute? So if it's a VA government hospital or a hospital, that's William, my almost 2-year-old, who really is saying hello well. So if the If, for instance, a doctor at a VA hospital commits medical malpractice, you can pursue a claim. For instance, you can have claims under Section 1983, Civil Rights Action, for prisoners or that type of stuff. So it's very limited circumstances under which the federal government waives its immunity. You can't do it if you can't have a claim if you are employed by, like in the armed services. You can't do that. Now you could do a claim. There is federal work comp. So if you're an employee of the federal government and they do not provide that type of and they do not provide masks or other things, and you get injured or you suffer the COVID infection and you do not are not able to get well, or you pass away, unfortunately, you have a federal workers' compensation claim that you could handle as well. So now let me get to some more questions. Let me move along. So that's the question on that. The most underrated legal advice question is. So one underrated that people don't listen to is justice delayed is justice denied. So if you have a claim, you need to act on it. You need to make a claim. You need to get your evidence. You need to hire a lawyer. You need to do it. If you sit on your laurels and don't act on a legal claim that you hold, you could lose it and you could have it negatively affected for you. So a legal claim is only that. It's a legal idea that you hold, and until you progress it, until you file a lawsuit, make a claim, call the insurance company, you're not doing anything. So I strongly encourage people to act. Life and law is a program of action. The road to you know where is paved with good intentions, right? So you need to act and to protect your rights. What's going on with the state of Missouri in the case with the corrections officers? So I'm arguing, that's from Blake Childs. Blake, I'm arguing that case to the Missouri Supreme Court next Tuesday, the 22nd. It'll be the second ever virtual argument where we're going to be on a Zoom conference. You can listen live and see me live. Hopefully I won't have William with me when I do that. I think I may go down to my office for that argument, but we'll see. So what's happened in that case is the state, the MDOC, the Missouri Department of Corrections, filed its brief. We filed our brief in opposition. They have a reply brief that's due on Thursday, and we're arguing it next Wednesday, I think, is the 22nd. So thanks for your service, by the way, Blake. I see that you've been deployed in the Texas for the military, so stay safe, get that PPE, that personal protective equipment, keep it on. I know you will. We also have a page on our website, burgerlaw.com, Missouri Correctional Officers. We put our brief up there. We put the state's brief. We put all the most recent pleadings, and we try to have updates. I do update emails too. We also have a link at the top of that page where you can provide us all your information. So when I send my periodic emails out updating folks in the class about that case, you will get that. I see Genevieve Fikes and Imkin and Brandon Swires has some questions. So let me keep on trotting through those. So Genevieve, if I'm injured in a car accident, can I just deal with the car insurance company myself? How is it that a lawyer can get me more money? Good question, Genevieve. So if you're injured in a car accident and all you do is go to the ER and urgent care once and then you're fine and you never get any more care, or you just go to your primary care doctor, you don't have to get a lawyer. That's not the kind of case that a lawyer can add value to. However, if you are more significantly injured, if you go to an urgent care or an emergency room and then you need to do physical therapy or chiropractic care, and then maybe you have some wage loss damages as well, you're off work for a while, and then most of the time when people recover, they're not 100% like they were before. They have residual problems. Their neck still aches. They still get headaches. They can't walk as easily. They have a low back injury. They break a bone and it's still going to have that pain, or have hardware in it that needed to repair that injury. Well, under those circumstances, I'll hire a lawyer. Call a lawyer right away. The quicker you call us, the better. I have a book on my website. One of the chapters is I have a couple books on my website. One of the chapters in one of our books is questions to ask a lawyer, and how to decide whether to hire a lawyer, call me. I'll tell you whether or not you need me or need a lawyer like me. I do it all the time. I say, hey, you know what? Try to send the insurance company your ER bill and add $1,000 to it. See if they'll pay you on these low-level cases. But if it's not a low-level case, if it's more significant, then you need to hire a lawyer, because we will add value to the case, because we know the tricks that the insurance company is going to play. We know when they say you're partly at fault and you really weren't, what to say. We know when they say there's liability limits, and that's not true. We know what to say when they say you got paid through your sick time or your vacation time from work, so we don't have to pay you for your wage loss damages. That ain't true. So we know all the tricks, and we know the value of these cases, and we try these cases, so we know what juries typically give. So we're able to get a great value. So if it's more than just an ER visit, then I think you should hire a lawyer, because we'll put more money in your pocket. You only have one chance to ever recover for those cases. I can talk about this forever. I got a question on my phone. That's obviously a client. I don't know. Someone worked at Spire. Let me keep going through. I'm going to look at my text for a minute. This is great. How hard is it to get, Patrick Imkin asks me, how hard is it to get compensation for a broken jaw and nerve damage after wisdom teeth removal? Patrick, that's a great question. So, in my experience, dental malpractice cases are tough. I've taken them, very, very few. So the question is, you're asking, so a dental malpractice case is just like a medical malpractice case. You have to show that the dentist breached the standard of care, was negligent, or broke the rules of the road for malpractice cases, did something they weren't supposed to do. Now, sometimes when you're doing this, that's hard. I had a tooth taken out. It's still out. I broke it eating popcorn, and I cracked it. And that dentist, who, he wasn't there, he's a buddy of mine, one of his assistants did it. They took it out probably in 10 pieces, and they still couldn't get it all out. And then I had to go to an oral surgeon and blah, blah, blah. So sometimes this stuff's tough. It's tough to be a dentist and get a whole tooth out, because you don't have a lot of leverage in there when you're working in there. It's tough to be an orthopedic surgeon. It's a bone type of thing. So, Patrick, if the dentist breached the standard of care and was negligent, then you got a claim. Email me, Gary@burgerlaw.com. Tell me what your deal is, or look on our website. Do we have contact forms at Burger Law? Let us know the facts. I'll look at your case for free. I look at all cases for free. I'll tell you whether or not I can do something for you, whether or not I think you got something to talk about, whether your case might have any traction. It's bad to have a broken jaw and nerve damage. So I've had these cases. So it's called the fifth. The fifth nerve. Typically, it's a fifth nerve. It goes below the jaw. Sometimes when they go in there, they'll dig it and damage it. And so that, you can have it, and sometimes that's permanent. You have face numbness on one side. It may affect your tongue. It may affect your ability to speak. I've had some success in a couple of those cases. You should also, on your medical damage, go to an oral surgeon, go to a neurologist, get on some Neurontin, which is a medication that might help the nerve. They say that if you don't get the nerve damage back in 6 months or a year, it's gonna be permanent loss. Those are my thoughts on your case. So it is hard, but we take hard cases at Burger Law. Brandon Swires asks, when a company laid off employees and now are trying to reinstate employees for the PPP loan, do those employees have to return to work or risk unemployment fraud? Brandon, I don't think that's unemployment fraud. If they're genuinely going to bring you back to work, go to work, make the money while you can. A PPP loan, from what I understand, they go back and may even look at a whole year of wages. And the PPP loan is through a bank. So they're typically the PPP loan they're doing looking at your bank and your form, 940? There's different forms the banks will look at for that. Just in the number of employees, I don't think there's unemployment fraud there. And I'm not saying your company is good or bad or anything. I'm not judging them one way or the other. But it's a tough time for employers to navigate this. area? Do you bring people on, people off? We've kept all of our people. There's a couple people that we've had some changes because we're all working from home now, and we need to adjust to that. But I don't think that is. I'm not sure that's unemployment fraud. A PPP loan has to do with an application to a bank, and it's typically a bank that your employer has a good relationship with. Mike Watry, how you doing, buddy? I see you're, and a lot of other friends of mine are watching. John Rhines. Justin, you're welcome on the thank you for the Department of Corrections. I appreciate that. Let me make sure you're not asking me a question here. Justin Golian, your fiance's been trying to contact me. So, you know, I get a couple hundred emails a day. Sorry, I was itching my foot. Sometimes I miss stuff. Justin, have her email me, Gary@burgerlaw.com. Have her contact me about something different. I'm happy to answer her personal question. And, you know, the folks, we do these, you know, I'm doing this show, but a lot of times people have personal questions they don't want to ask on an open forum like this. I get it. You know, even, and just so you know, on attorney-client privilege, if your fiance asks me a question or something, email something to me, she and I have a attorney-client privilege. Even if she never hires me or I don't take her case or I'm not able to, it's not something I do or not something I'm comfortable doing, I'll be happy to answer her questions for free. And anything she and I talked about is attorney-client privilege. I can't tell even you about it. That's how strong the privilege is. All right, Blake, you're welcome. Patrick Lane, how are you doing, sir? You and Watry are old high school friends of mine. Hey, Michael, you're welcome. Michael Elvins, I answered an issue for you, some emails earlier. I'm glad you were able to take care of your issue, and I'm happy to fight for you. Proud to fight for you. Malik, how are you doing, Malik? How did Judge Malik asks, our old friend Malik, I hope you're doing well, Malik asks, how do judges and juries determine the value of economic loss in a personal injury case? Great question, Malik. So when you go to an injury case, when we try a case, I put the person on, I put the different people who have different information about the injury, so we get it. The person who's injured talks about it as well. We put on evidence of any medical bills you have. We put on evidence of any wage loss damages you have. And then typically the areas of damages in an injury case are your medical expenses and your wage loss damages. Now those are both past and future. So if you, sometimes people may have, you may have reached maximum medical improvement, you may be all better, but you may need to have a couple chiropractic visits every year. We settled a case for a great lady, Mary. I won't say her last name just to be private, but Mary needed, part of her settlement was she was going to need an injection. She's a dental worker. She's bent over. She got walloped in a car crash. But she worked. She went back and worked all the time. But you know what? She needs an injection every year. And in the future, she would need an injection. So we made sure that our settlement afforded her the money for that so that she could get injections in the future, which is great. She needs them, and she's using that judiciously to be able to go and continue working. So I got another question here, and I appreciate all the questions. Tim Huff is watching. Tim, thanks. I'm glad you liked our Supreme Court brief. We worked really hard on that thing, and I look forward to you hearing the oral argument. So another question that's brought up, I see on the feed here, is about what if you're hit in a car wreck and a person who hit you doesn't have car insurance? What if you're hit by a hit and run driver? We got a case right now. What if someone gets in an accident, is on the road, you can't avoid that, and or you stop quickly and someone rear ends you? Well, the person who rear ended you was on the hook, but what about the person who got in the wreck in front of you and caused you to brake? So that's why you have uninsured motorist coverage. So every policy in Missouri and Illinois and every other state requires you to have a amount of insurance coverage called uninsured motorist coverage. Missouri and Illinois minimum is 25 grand. So if the person who hits you doesn't have it, then you have a claim against your own insurance company for the uninsured motorist coverage. You can have, if you have a multiple car accident, for instance, someone rear ends you and someone else was at fault, you have a claim against the person who rear-ended you behind you, but you also have a claim against the person who did something squirrely in front of you and did that, or hit and ran and then someone else hit you. So you can have an uninsured motorist claim even when you also have another person. I have my own uninsured motorist claim. I had a hit-and-run driver hit me. I chased him a little bit. Don't tell my wife. No, I chased him just enough to take a picture of a license plate. And I have a claim against my own insurance company for uninsured motorist coverage. Now, what if they find that person? But what if your damages are more than the $25,000 limit that person? And because if they only have minimum coverage, the minimum coverage in Missouri and Illinois is 25 grand. But let's say you got 50, 100, 250, a lot of damages. Well, you have underinsured motorist coverage as well. Underinsured motorist coverage means that the person who hit you is underinsured. They don't got enough insurance to cover your damages. And then what you want to do is make a claim against your own underinsured motorist coverage for the balance of your damages. We do that all the time. You would think that if you have a claim against your own insurance company, they're going to go ahead and pay, and that's easy. That's not the case. We have it all the time where we are suing insurance companies, either in state or federal court, our own clients' insurance companies, because we get the money from the defendants, like 25 or 50 grand, but our clients' damages are much higher, so we sue our clients' insurance companies for the balance of their damages, the uninsured motorist coverage part of their policy. So that's uninsured and underinsured. We have whole sections on this on our website. There are lawyers who don't even understand uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. So it can be a complicated issue. So if you're listening to me babble about it, don't sit there and go, no, wait a minute, what did he say? And he's talking fast and all that. So don't stress about that. Instead, go to the website. I have YouTube videos about this, describing this as well. Go to the website, burgerlaw.com, and search under and uninsured motorist coverage, and you can find out about that. Yes, Justin, let me repeat my email again. I'm sorry I talked fast. Gary@burgerlaw.com, BURGERLAW.com, Gary@burgerlaw.com. If you go to burgerlaw.com, there's also a contact form that you can fill out and then just hit submit, and that goes to our intake people. One of our great intake people is Tiffany. She'll get it. She'll call your fiance. She'll figure out what the deal is and how much we can help. And you can email me, or you can call us at 314-542-2222. All right. Now, Malik has another question. I'm going to get to that one in a minute. Thank you, Malik. Matt Jones. Let me see your question, Matt. Matt asks, this is an interesting question. Matt asks, there are currently, hey Bob, how are you? So there are currently people, my landlord's watching this live a Facebook live episode. Now here's the question I want to know. If you can't go to your office and you have to work from home, do you still have to pay your landlord rent? I think the answer should be no. I think we should not have to pay our landlord's rent if we're ordered to, if we have to work at home. I mean, look at this place that I'm in. I mean, why should I pay my landlord rent for that? Matt Jones asks, there are currently people protesting the stay-at-home order in Raleigh, North Carolina. In Missouri, who would win in court, a protester or the city enforcing the order? The city enforcing the order. The city, and so the city is a unit of government authorized under the Missouri or the North Carolina Constitution to be a unit of government, and for appropriate reasons, cities and states can make orders for the health and safety of their population. In the Spanish flu epidemic, in the Spanish flu epidemic, look what Mayor Cervantes did. The first Mayor Cervantes, I think, did by quarantining and keeping everybody home, saved thousands of lives. Versus cities like Philadelphia and other ones where the incidence of the Spanish flu skyrocketed, people died. So, a city, a county, a state is entitled to, under the law, take reasonable means to enforce their ordinances and their rules. And so if someone's protesting that and it's a lawful order appropriate, I think the city would win that. Now that doesn't mean the city can come in heavy-handed. I mean, look at all the problems that occurred out of Ferguson. The people had a right to protest what happened in Ferguson with Mr. Brown, that sad death. But at the same time, they're allowed to peacefully protest it. So they can't burn cars and do stuff. So there's a line there. And I'm not trying to make a political point, but my point is that the city is entitled to enforce its reasonable ordinances in a reasonable way. Now, the people shouldn't burn cars and do that, but also the police can't overly react. And there was these police beating cases too that are civil cases, because people have a civil right not to get overly attacked or overly to get beat up. People have a right not to get beat up. So let me go back to a question I don't think I asked from Malik about what's the difference between compensatory and punitive damages and which can I get? Well, compensatory damages you can always get. Compensatory damages simply means when someone breaks the rules and hurts you or harms you, a person is entitled to damages to make amends for those damages, and what's to compensate them to equal the scales of justice had that wrong not been committed. That's compensatory damages: wage loss, medical expenses, pain and suffering. Punitive damages are different. Punitive damages are designed to punish the offender for the transgressor, the defendant, the person who broke the rules, whoever it is. That's to punish them for reckless conduct that is when someone acts with reckless disregard to the safety of others, including the plaintiff, is the jury instruction. So, the classic example is the gas tank on that little car. I'm mind blanking on the car, not the Volvo. Someone will put it in the comments. Anyway, there are products where a company puts out an intentionally dangerous product and knows it and doesn't care for it, and it goes and injures people. I mean, you hear right now those Purdue, they put out those opioids, that family, they declared Purdue's in bankruptcy. They knew these opioids were addicting people. They knew that, and they still continue to put it out. So under some circumstances, punitive damages are appropriate. They're to punish people. They're hard to get. There's rules restricting them. There's tort reform in many states restricting them. If you get punitive damages in Missouri, half the money goes to the state. In Illinois, you have to have a court certified before you're entitled to submit a jury for punitive damages. So there's a lot of different rules around that. So there you go. Pinto, thank you. It was the gas tank on the Pinto. Thank you, Bob. I knew it was I knew it rhymed with that. So, I mean, if you have a classic case where someone should be punished, that's fine. But there's tough to get. There certain circumstances are appropriate. Okay, so I'm going through some more questions here on the feed here. Alan writes, any advice for a first-year law student struggling with property law? I don't know if I have any advice for you on that. Property law was my 8 a.m. class, my first year of law school. I had a great professor, but boy, that was tough. I mean, memorize the rule against perpetuities. Property law is good to know, though. I mean, there's a lot of definitions. I mean, the only advice if you're struggling with property law is put your seat in a seat and sit down and memorize it, because the property law is not intuitive. It's not something where it just makes sense in your gut. It's something you just got to cram in your brain for the final, and then decide you're not going to be a trust and estates lawyer or a property lawyer down the road. So we're going to be winding up here soon. We're still getting more questions. I appreciate your Genevieve has 3 questions, so she kindly is supplying me with some questions to ask. So Genevieve asked about dog bite. And now I see people out on these walks all the time. This is the one great thing about the pandemic, or the silver lining about what's going on. There's a lot of terrible things about healthcare and people getting sick and dying. It's just terrible. I read these stories, it just breaks my heart. I had a friend of mine from law school whose brother in New York died, and I didn't know him, but I've known her for 30 years now, and I just saw that and just broke my heart. And I'm seeing these deaths happening. It's just super sad. But the silver lining is people getting out and walking more and exercising, and I see that, and it's a blessing. And I see people's dogs, and I want make sure you leash your dog. We've always handled dog bite cases in my firm. I've handled many cases because they can be bad. Have people bitten on the face, kids bitten, significant injuries, that kind of stuff. So you don't have to. One of the things people think is there's this misnomer, or this idea that the first bite is free, that a dog can bite someone and then they're not liable, but after that they're liable. That's not true. Your dog has to have vicious propensities. I've tried cases before where a dog never bit anybody. I tried this great case in St. Charles one time where the dog never bit anybody, never bit any. But the family was always grabbing the dog and worried about the dog biting other kids. And I was sitting there going, if that dog never bit anybody, why would you always be worried that the dog was going to bite someone? And then it came out that was bogus, and the dog had many bites before, and then it was a dangerous dog, and we won that case. So in a dog bite case, if you're out walking and you see a dog, so there's leash laws. People can't break leash laws. You can't let a dog off the leash and it goes attack someone. If your dog is going to go out and bite someone, and I have 2 dogs. I've always had at least 2 dogs for years and years. We foster dogs. We do a lot of work with strays. My wife is on the board of some organizations. She does great work with dogs. So I'm a super dog person, but if your dog, I guarantee you, if your dog bites someone, you knew it. That was not the first time. The odds that the first time your dog ever bit someone was the one time where you get sued for it is about 0. It's kind of like if someone gets a DUI. I hate to just talk cavalierly, but look, if someone gets a DUI, that means they've done it before. That ain't their first rodeo. They just happen to have gotten caught the very first time they ever drank and drove. The same thing about with a dog. So I just don't believe that if a dog bites someone, that's the first time they ever did it. But you do have to prove vicious propensities. You can also prove there's leash laws, there's other per se violations. We can find local ordinances or other stuff where we can establish liability on the defendant. Insurance does cover dogs in most cases, so we don't pursue a claim against a person. We usually pursue a claim against the insurance company for the homeowner. So we seek that out, get that coverage, and then make a claim against the insurance coverage. We're not looking to take people's houses or personal money. It's an insurance claim. And so I have this great dog named King who died last summer. King bit some people. And I mean, I wasn't allowed to get mail in my house. I had to get a P.O. box in the last house I lived because of my damn dog. But if my dog King would bite someone, I would want my insurance to pay and compensate that person. I'd feel terrible if someone got bitten and I didn't take care of them. So what we typically do in those types of cases is we go after insurance companies. We ask them that they pay the compensatory damages to the person, and they be put in a place as if that did not happen. That's what we seek. And we're pretty successful at it. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the energy. Thanks for letting me do this little thing. I thought I hadn't done this before. I do someone I do all kinds of stuff for marketing. I have a podcast I do with another great lawyer, Debbie Champion, called Lawyer v. Lawyer. I have newsletters I send out. I have videos. I always try to teach people about the law and how and where the rubber hits the road in their legal claim. But now with everybody being in this pandemic and in their own homes, I thought maybe a Facebook Live show would be a good way to answer people's questions that they're not able to get answers to, because you're not walking around the street shooting the breeze with your buddy at lunch or having a beer or whatever. You're not able to bounce stuff off of people like you used to. So I thought maybe this would be a vehicle to do so. Virginia, I'm sorry about your question. I'm glad to get it. I don't think, Virginia asks, can someone throw you out because they want a divorce and you have no other place to go? No, it's your home too. The question that Alan asked me, he's a first-year law student, about property damage, about property law. So if you own the home, or you're on the lease, you're there together. It's called tenancy by the entireties. You own it just like them. If you're on the lease, you're on the lease. So I'm sorry that would be putting a strain on your relationship. That's hard to go through. I get it. I've walked in your shoes. I get it. But try to cool it off. Try to be peaceful. Try to work it out. If you need to find another place, there are shelters. There's other places. I don't really know any other answer to that. But I don't think legally they can kick you out. It's certainly probably not a pleasant atmosphere. Well, with that being said, I've done this. We've done this for about 45 minutes. I don't have anything else really particularly wise to ask you. Although, you know what? I did have one other question. A friend of mine emailed me and asked me if I could ask for it. So what do you do now with this days of this pandemic and COVID-19? How do you act differently at a car accident scene or at a Walmart or one of these places? And it is a little different, you know. Be careful exchanging information. You're not going to want it. You're not going to be touching. You're going to be socially distancing yourself. So take pictures. Take a picture of someone's driver's license after an accident. Don't worry about writing down all their information. Use your phone. I always say this, use your phone. Take a picture of the property damage, take a picture of that. If you slip on ice or you slip on, somebody spilled a shake in Walmart or something, you want to sue them, take a picture of all that stuff. Don't spend as much time chit-chatting and that kind of stuff because of this crazy pandemic we're in. But take your phone, try to short circuit things, get the information you need. At this time, I'm going to sign off here. I don't think I have anything else wise to hey, Scott, how you doing? I see you commenting there. Good to see you, Scott. How's Florida? I'm sure it's nice down there. At this time, I'm going to sign off. We're going to do another one of these next week. Save your questions for then. If you want to ask me questions to answer next week, email them to me at gary@burgerlaw.com. I'll be happy to answer them. And let me know if you guys like this too, what we're doing here, trying to get the word out, trying to teach people about the law. Please feel free to holler at us, email us, leave a message on our Facebook, message me on Facebook. You know how to get a hold of us. Thanks, everybody. Everybody be safe. Honor the social distancing and other recommendations. Everybody have a great week. And that's it. Thanks.